Off the beaded path, your beading starts here. Shop at Off the Beaded Path beadstore.com.
Hey guys, it's Kelly Dell here with Off the Beaded Path beadstore.com. Thanks for joining me for week 1 of our Shapes of Summer bead along. Back in 2016, I did a video series and wrote an ebook on 3D shapes. And these were basic 3D shapes like a circle, a square, a hexagon, an oval, and other shapes. And I have learned so much about 3D shapes and how they're constructed since that time. And at one of my recent bead retreats, I found that some of the ladies had never made a 3D shape. And I said, oh, we cannot have that. So I said, what if we spent the rest of the summer doing shapes? And they said, yes, please. So my friend Sandy said, yes, and let's call it the Shapes of Summer. So the Shapes of Summer bead along was born. So today we are going to start out very basic, but I have a very cool end product to show you. We're going to be doing the 3D circle. Now, don't stop. Don't stop right now and click to another video if you have already done a 3D circle, because I'm going to show you a different way to do the 3D circle than I did back in 2016 and even 2022. So in 2016, I did the 3D circle video, and then I used that same 3D circle to do another video to teach you how to make a beaded toggle. Then in 2022, I did a retro redo of that beaded toggle. So all of those videos are still on our YouTube channel, and we are going to link all 3 of those videos below in that video description box. But today, what I'm going to show you is a new way to do that 3D shape. So it's going to have a similar pattern to it, but it's going to be constructed backwards. So I hope that you will join me as we go through. So let's go ahead and look at what you're going to need to make the basic 3D circle. The 3D circle is what we are going to cover in today's project. Now, if you look in the materials list or you follow along in the pattern, you'll notice that I say you need 3 different beads. You need a size 11 Miyuki Delica bead. That is a cylinder shaped bead. You need a size 15 seed bead. Now, one little upgrade from the previous patterns is in all the previous ones that I've done for a 3D round shape, I've told you had to use a size 15 seed bead here. And I've told you Miyuki or Toho round beads will work. In the one I'm doing today, I'm going to be using the size 15 Delica bead. So it's a Miyuki, it is a Delica. You can see the difference there in the sizing, but it will work as well. So any pretty much size 15 seed bead you have. And then I'm going to be using a size 11 round bead. Now you can see here, this is going to be a variation that I'm going to teach you today. I'm going to show you how to make that circle, but then how to embellish that circle to make something fun with it. So those size 11 seed beads, we're going to be using them here between our Delicas, but we're also going to use them to do the embellishments with. Now, I did want to tell you, it's not going to work for the embellishments, but if you don't have any round size 11 seed beads, you can use a Delica in the place of it for the pattern. It will work, but it won't work for your embellishments that we're going to be doing today. So this is what we're going to turn this into this. And that can be made into a necklace, earrings, whatever, pendant, whatever you want to do. So let's go ahead and get a needle threaded with 2 yards of thread. And you'll want either a size 12 or 11. I'm going to be using my 1G thread today. You can use your KO or whatever. But I've just found that this type thread works better on the 3D shapes. It's just my opinion. You use what you want to. To get started, if you need a stop bead for your beadwork, go ahead and put a stop bead on your thread and leave about 6 inches. Once you get that stop bead put on, if you need it, you are going to thread on 60 size 11 Delica beads. So in our normal way of doing it, we would have started with our 15s, but on this way, we're going to be working from the outside in. So we are going to thread on 60 size 11 Delica beads. Once you get those on there, count them twice, make sure you have 60, and then you're going to bring the thread, pull the thread down until you either hit your stop bead or you have about 6 inches of thread from the end to where your beadwork is. Now, I'm going to take the needle, and I'm not going to pass through all the beads again. I'm only going to take like just a needle bowl here and pass through those beads again to make the circle. I don't want to go through them all again because if I do, I'm going to have a tension issue and it's going to be a big mess. So you're only going to go through just a few of those beads. So we started off with our Delicas. Now we're jumping over to our regular 11s. So from where we are at, and you can put this on a dowel if you want to, anything you've got that's going to be around that same size, or you can just hold this if you want. It's completely up to you. But what we're going to do is we're going to pick up our round bead. We are going to skip a Delica, and we are going to pass through a Delica. So that is what it's going to look like right there. Now we're going to do this all the way around. We're going to pick up a Delica, 11, pick up an 11 seed bead. We are going to skip one Delica, and we are going to go through one Delica. We are going to pick up an 11 round bead. We are going to skip a Delica and pass through a Delica. We are going to do this all the way around. Now, as you work and you start to get around, your piece is not going to lay pretty. It's going to want to twist and curl, and that's okay. When we go around through the next row, we're going to be adding Delicas in between our round beads, so it makes it easier to know which beads are supposed to be on which side. So just continue to add your 11 round beads all the way. Now, just as I told you, as you work, it's going to get curved and gnarly, and that's okay. We're going to fix it in this round. So I just added my last size 11 seed bead. This one right here was the one that I added, and I've come through the Delica. Now it is time to step up. So when I step up, I'm going to be stepping up through the first 11 that I added in the round. So I'm just going to come through that single bead right next to the one that I was just coming out of. And I'm going to pull that. Now, the thing that will make this row easy compared to if I was using my 15s is I'm going back to my Delica beads now. And as I go through, I am only going to pass through the 11 O's. So if it's flipped, like I about just went through a Delica there, if it's flipped, you'll know that you can just pull it around and go through that size 11 seed bead. So again, I'm going to pick up a Delica, and I'm going to go through the 11O, not the Delica. And I'm going to do this all the way around until I have all of the Delicas passing through a size 11 seed bead. When you get around to the start of the piece, you will pick up your last Delica. You'll go through the 11O, and then you're going to step up through the first Delica that you added in this round. And when you do that, it's going to look like this. So it's going to be kind of fanned out a little bit, but that is okay. Like I said, all of this will fix itself as we work. And I've not got a super tight tension. I've got just enough that those beads will pop together and you see no thread showing between. So now we're going to work another round using our Delicas. and you're going to pick up a Delica. You're going to be skipping where that size 11 seed bead is, and you're going to pass through the next Delica sticking up. So when you do that, it's almost going to make a little flower shape there with the Delicas and the 11s. So I'm just going to work around the piece, again, picking up one Delica and passing through the next Delica that's sticking up. I'm still working on the same side that I've been working this whole time. I've not switched sides yet, so I'm just going to continue until I've gone all the way around. Once you've gone all the way around, I've got to add the last Delica. So I pick up my Delica, I skip the 11-0, and I'm going to go through 2 Delicas. So I'm going to go through the last one on the row and then the first one that I added. And so now that finishes up that side. And you'll notice that it's more of a round circle than something that kind of fans out. At this point, we're going to jump to another size, and we're going to be using our size 15 seed beads. So we are going to work, and in place of our size 11s, we are just going to work around, and we are going to put in our size 15 seed beads. So when you work around with these, it is going to pull this more towards the center, and that's good. That's what we want as you work. So as you work, just let it pull towards the center, because that's where it naturally is going to need to go. So just work around and add that row of 15s. Now you can see how those 15s have really pulled to the inside. I've gone ahead and put a needle onto the shorter tail thread, and I'm going to go ahead and lock that tail thread into place. So right now I'm coming out of this Delica and I'm coming out towards my body. So I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to go through the Delica next to it and the 11 going in the opposite direction. And then I'll go through one more Delica. And then I'm going to flip around and I'm going to come back through the Delica and that 11. And make sure I don't have my thread caught. Nope. Okay, and then I may pass through 1 or 2 more beads. And then I'm ready to finish off this thread. That short thread, I've got it locked into place. And it is good to go. So now what we want to do from where you're coming out of a 15 here on this side is we are going to pass through our Delicas and our 11s to come out on this other side. And we're passing through in a way that we will not see thread. So I'm just went through at a diagonal to come to this other side. Now on this side, I'm going to work 2 rows of my size 15 Delica beads. So this was the side that had the single row, and I just finished the side that has the double row of 15s. So at this point, your piece still may be a little bit wonky, but what we're going to do now is we are going to zip up our rows of 15s, and that's really going to give you a nice stiff piece that will really shape up and you won't have to worry about it. So we're going to be working on the inside, and I'm going to try to zoom in here a little bit to see if you can see this a little better. Right now, my thread is exiting this 15 right here. So I'm going to come across, and you are going to have to figure out the best way for you to hold this and do this. But I'm going to come through the single 15 on this side. And then the next 15 sticking up here on this side. And you're going to have to be, real gentle as you go through and you work, because you don't want to bust any of your beads. And you don't want to get a bunch of your thread caught and messed up. So each time, just go through 1 bead on one side and 1 bead sticking up on the other side. and make sure that you are staying in pattern. So pull it kind of tight so that you can see it there. But just be gentle and maneuver the needle how it needs to go. And you are just going to work now and zip from side to side until you've gone all the way around. So I'm going to continue to zip my piece, and then I'll show you what that finished circle is going to look like. Once you've gone all the way around, this is what your piece should look like. Now, I did want to show you the difference in what it's going to look like using your size 11 seed beads versus using a Delica in its place. So it's going to look a little bit different if you use the 11 versus the 11 Delica in that center row. So once you finish that, then you are going to exit any one of those round 11s here along the outside of the piece. Using the round 11s, I'm going to pick up 5 of those. I'm going to skip the bead here sticking up, and I'm going to go through the next bead sticking up. And when you do, it gives you a little point like that. So what we want to do now is we're going to work around picking up 5 11-0 seed beads, skipping one that's sticking up, and then passing through the next one. We're going to do that all the way around. This is what your piece should look like at this point. And I've gone through and I'm coming out of that last bead here on the base. So I'm going to pass through 2 beads of the next group of 5 that I added. Now we want nice points on this. So I'm going to skip the middle bead and I'm going to pass through the 2 beads after that. And then if you can get through it at the same time, you can also go through the one on the base. But if you can't, you can go through that bead separately like that. So it's going to do 2 purposes. It's going to go and reinforce these little loops that we've made, but also it's going to make that point stick out really well. So again, we are going to pass through 2 of those 11s. We're going to skip the center point and we're going to pass through 2 beads, and you see there how nice that point looks right there. So I'm going to continue on and I'm going to do this all the way around. And I know somebody's going to say, how do I know I got all the way around? These are going to have really, really nice points. And if you'll look really closely, these beads right here are pulled together very tightly. And you can almost see the little thread right there. So that's kind of how you'll know when you get back around. These beads here, right under that 3rd bead, are going to be more tightly together like they are here and here versus these other ones. So just continue to do this all the way around. Once you've gone all the way around, you should now have a piece that looks similar to this. You have really nice points on your piece and everything is well rounded. So I passed up through the beadwork to come out of any one of the points. It does not matter which one. Now I've got some size 15 seed beads, not my Delicas, because the Delicas don't make as good of circle as we would want. So I'm just using a round bead here and I'm going to pick up 8, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 of those beads, and I'm going to pass back through that same bead so that I can make a circle or a little loop here at the top. And what we want to do is we want to reinforce this loop a couple of times. Now, this is what I would hang my ear wire off of, or hang a bell, or you could even attach a bell directly to this if you wanted to, if you're going to make this into a necklace. It's whatever you want to do. Or you could even wait. If you don't know what you're going to do with this yet, you could always just leave it like this without that loop on it, and then do something with it once you decide. But once you've gone through it several times, enough that you can tell it's starting to get hard to get through the beadwork, go ahead and pass through that 11. And if it looks like a funny little circle, take your beading awl, slide it in there, and then you have a perfect little circle. So I'm going to make a half hitch knot. So I'm going to bring the thread inside of that shape, leave a little loop, and when I pull it, I'm going to make sure that that thread goes between the 11s and the 15s where I was coming out at, and I'm going to give that a little tug. And then I'm going to pass down through 2 beads, and I'm going to do that 1 or 2 more places, and then I'm going to cut this thread off. Once you complete your beadwork, if it is loose in any way, you can use a product called Diamond Glaze to stiffen it up a little bit. I like to water it down just a little bit. So if I'm going to use like a teaspoon of this, I'll use a teaspoon of water, a 50-50 mixture, to thin it out just a little bit. And that seems to work, but you can do that if you need it. My pieces are very, very, very firm, and I do not need that, but it is completely up to you. And again, you can make the rings individually. You can make them like a toggle, like I did in previous videos. You can do this. The world is your oyster when you are making round shapes. So go ahead, have fun, play with the round shapes, and I can't wait to see what you do. So guys, I hope you enjoyed learning this other way of making a 3D circle. And I hope that maybe if you've had trouble in the past making a 3D circle, that this will help you. I also hope that you enjoyed learning that cute little earring project. I do have bead packs available on my website for this sienna color because it has this beautiful burnt orange in the center. And this one, which is the cream and light champagne. The bead packs includes all 3 sizes of beads needed to make 2 of the rings. So you can have a pair of earrings, you can do 2 pendants, whatever you want to do. It also comes with the digital download pattern when you purchase that bead pack. I do have the instant download pattern available on my website at Off the Beaded Path beadstore.com. So make sure to come back next week for week 2 of our series, when we are going to be adding corners to our project, making a 3D square. So I hope to see you next week. Have a great one, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Off the beaded path, your beading starts here. Shop it off the beaded path, beadstore.com. Bring your vision near. Off the beaded path.